Ever since I started working at the washing ghat, a strange fear had settled in my heart, as if an invisible shadow was walking alongside me. Sometimes a gust of wind would pass by my ear, and it seemed as if someone was calling my name very softly. But I kept telling myself that it was all my imagination. But what happened today blew my mind. I always went to work with my father, but after visiting him sick, I had reached the ghat alone for the first time. The sun had not yet fully risen, and there was a faint darkness in the air. There were old betel trees all around the washing ghat, their roots protruding from the ground and spreading like snakes. Under these trees were old stones, and here and there, water flowed through open channels, the sound of which sounded like a sigh. I opened the bundle of clothes I had brought with me, and as soon as I started to put the clothes in the water, my eyes fell on a young boy who was standing on the other bank of the river, washing the clothes very slowly. He was acting as if he had been doing this job for years. His clothes were white as moonlight. There was a strange calmness on his face. He had clothes with my father's logo on them. I stared at him for a while, then plucked up the courage and called out, "Hey, listen, who are you and why are you washing my clothes?" He turned to me and smiled. In just that short time, a cloud of fog rose and he disappeared into it. I stopped listening. My feet sank into the ground. My heart started beating fast. I looked around, but no one was there. My father was a very simple-minded person. He had been washing people's clothes all his life. Now he was sick. My mother had already passed away and I had no brothers. My father was lying on his bed, coughing, and I was breaking down thinking about his face. When I said that I would do my share of the work, my father got scared and said, "No, daughter, there are all men on the farm. How can you go there alone?" But I said it clearly. If we don't return the people's clothes, our livelihood will be lost. I said, "Father, they will do their own work. I will do my own work." He bowed his head in sadness, but there was an unknown fear in his eyes. Dhobi Ghat was built during the British era. The big stones, the old wells, and the rickety walls were still there. It was said that this place was haunted by a strange shadow. At night, an unseen person would be seen sitting on these stones washing clothes. Then some brave man started working there again, and gradually the place became inhabited again. It had been more than 20 years. My father was also working there. I thought that all these were just stories, but there was a voice in some corner of my heart. There must be some truth in these stories. The next morning, I got up very early, tied a bundle of clothes, and walked towards the ghat. My heart kept beating strangely. It seemed like someone was following me at every turn. I kept reassuring myself that this was my illusion. But as the ghat got closer, my steps became heavier. When I reached there, I thought that I could not turn back now because if I did not wash my clothes today, there would be nothing to eat tomorrow. I took a deep breath and placed the first cloth on the stone of the ghat. For a few days I sat like this while working. I felt that everyone's eyes were on me. On the one hand, I was beautiful. Up there, I was the only woman. The rest were all men. There was a kind of anxiety in their eyes that haunted my existence. I tried not to meet anyone's eyes and just focus on my work, but in some corner of my heart, a slight fear always remained. I was always careful not to let anything happen. At first, everything went on as usual. I would come to the ghat every morning to wash clothes and go home by noon. But then one day, the same old scene came back to life before my eyes. I saw a young man washing my clothes. The same face, the same calmness, and the same mysterious silence that I had mentioned earlier. I was shocked. My heart beat faster. My hands started shaking. But I controlled myself and said nothing because I knew that if I told this to Abba, he would be even more worried. He was already sick. There was always a deep look in his eyes. I was worried. I didn't want them to suffer any more for me. So I kept everything to myself. But gradually the atmosphere of Dhobi Ghat started to seem strange to me. The shadows of the trees there were getting longer day by day. There was an unknown chill in the air. Sometimes it felt as if someone was breathing through the water. I kept looking at the sky and praying, "Lord, Help me. This is not my job." Washing clothes at home was one thing, but washing people's clothes was a completely different matter. Even if there is a stain on the clothes of my family, a person can tolerate it. But if even a small mark is left on the clothes of others, people say bad things. That's why I washed every piece of clothing with great effort. My hands were blistered, but I couldn't give up. One morning, I reached Gant with a lot of clothes. I'd forgotten to carry my surf bag. I was in a hurry and stayed home. I thought, I will go and get them in a little while. I kept the bundle of clothes there and returned home. Abba was lying on a 4-ply bed. I didn't say anything to them. She said she had forgotten the surf because she kept asking why she had come back. I quickly picked up the bag and walked back towards the ghat, but when I reached it, my feet seemed to freeze in the ground. In front of me were the same washed clothes, all hanging on the rope, clean and shiny from the rain, smelling pleasantly, as if someone had washed them with great love and tenderness. Both fear and surprise rose in my heart at the same time. I looked around, but no one was there. The washerwomen were all working in their respective places. If you're visiting the channel for the first time, please subscribe, and don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video. I was looking at them, but their eyes were always on me. There was no self-interest in those eyes, but something else was disturbing. I wondered if one of them had done this, but then my heart said, no, they can't have such good intentions. They are just looking for excuses to see me. They are not helping me. I stood there for a while, thinking. Then I consoled myself. Maybe some good person had helped me. I took the clothes off the line, tied them in a bundle, and quietly returned home. When I reached home, Abba was resting. I didn't say anything. She lit the iron and sat down to iron the clothes. The work was half done, but a new fear had settled in my heart. Who had washed my clothes? I kept thinking, people help first, then gradually betray me. But here, I hadn't even talked to anyone. Then who was the one who had finished my work before I came? Wasn't that the same face I had seen earlier, that boy? But the next day, when I saw all the washermen, there was no one among them. It wasn't the same. Everyone was the same age. Some were my age. Some were 35 or 37. That boy looked like 21. That is, exactly my age. So, did he come here only to wash my clothes? One day, she arrived secretly with clothes in the air and told the oldest washerwoman who called me daughter to take care of my clothes, "I will come now." I left for a while. When I came back, I saw that all my clothes had been washed again. After all, just now you were the one washing all the clothes. Why are you standing here now asking who washed your clothes? I was stunned. I said slowly, "But I wasn't here. I was at home." But I didn't say this out loud. I just kept thinking in my heart. Then how could he see me washing clothes? I hadn't even touched a single piece of clothing. Now I was convinced that there was something strange about this place. Someone was washing my clothes. He was showing people that I was the one doing the work. And if it was true, if no human can do this, then who is he? That night I asked my father what is the history of this Dhobi Ghat. He remained silent for a moment and looked into my eyes. Then he said slowly, "Why, daughter? Why are you suddenly interested in this place?" I said, "This place looks very old. Moss has settled on the walls, rust has formed on the stones, and there is a strange humidity in the air, as if this place is alive." I asked, "Do you know the story behind this place?" He said, "Yes, I know, but I don't know if it is true or not." I persisted. "Tell me, Dad." He took a deep breath and said, "This Dhobi Ghat dates back to the British era. At that time it was considered the largest ghat in the entire area, but its fate has always been unlucky. It is said that a washerman who was fed up with the cruelty of the British committed suicide here. Before dying, he cursed that whoever came to this place would not be able to find peace. After that, this ghat remained deserted for many years. Neither a human nor a bird came again. After many years, some people tried to repopulate it, But something strange happened to everyone who worked here. Some went crazy, some drowned in the river. People said that the water itself draws them in. It is said that a chief of jinn lives here and destroys anyone he doesn't like. Now, I can't say how true these things are, but one thing is certain. There is definitely a strange horror in this place. I asked in fear, "Abba, has anything good ever happened to anyone here?" He smiled faintly and said, "No, my daughter, that has never happened before. Everyone here is after their own interests. No one helps anyone. Everyone has come to earn their own living. Washing clothes is not easy. People should do their share of the work. That's enough." I remained silent for a few moments. Abba looked at me carefully and said, "You seem worried. Has something happened?" I immediately said, "No, Abba, nothing like that." That's all I asked. The next day, I made a vow. No matter what happens today, I will do my own work. I will not take help from anyone or suspect anyone. I bought clothes. She picked up the bundle and headed towards the washerwoman's gat. When she reached there, she looked around and started working. She put her hand in the water and felt as if something was moving below, but she did not pay attention. I washed all the clothes myself and finished the work by evening. I returned home exhausted and exhausted. I was not alive. My father was sleeping on a 4-foot bed. I thought I would iron the clothes so that I could return them to the people in the morning. But as soon as I picked up the iron, my hands started shaking. It was difficult to stand up due to weakness. I said, "Let's rest for a while and then I will iron them." But just then, the phone started ringing. People were calling for their clothes. One after another, she picked up the phone and said, "Now you are stuck. If you don't iron them by morning, people will be angry." She was forced to get up and look at the ironing place. My screams kept coming out. Where I used to sit to iron the clothes, all the clothes were ironed, neatly arranged, as if someone had completed my work with great peace and love. I went around the whole house. My father was on the bed, unconscious, unable to iron a single pair of clothes. I looked at my father's face and saw that he was fast asleep. I turned around and looked at the clothes. My heart was beating fast, my mind was spinning. Today, no one had helped me wash the clothes, but I had ironed them. But who was helping me? Someone or something else. As I thought about this, a shiver ran down my spine. One day, I decided to go today and see who washes my clothes. I reached the gate in the morning, put the clothes on the stones, and hid myself in the corner of an old wall. There was silence all around. Only the soft sound of running water was coming from afar, and the smell of old soap was in the air. I sat behind the stones. The air started to warm up, but no one came. The clothes were lying there, no sound, no movement. I craned my neck several times, but everything was the same as before. I thought, maybe he won't come today, or maybe he has sensed my presence. I said to myself, now I'll go and start working. I walked slowly towards my clothes. The ground was wet. Water had gathered in places. I was afraid of slipping. The riverbank was covered in moss, as if no one had touched it for years. When I reached my clothes, I blinked and my heart stopped beating. There was nothing there. All the clothes were gone. I looked around in panic. There was no one or any movement. I took a step back, and as soon as I turned around, I opened my eyes. All the clothes were left open on the other side, hanging on a rope, drying, as clean as if someone had just washed them. I looked closely, but no, it was no lie. The clothes were really washed, moist, shiny, and fragrant. My legs started trembling. I was still crying. Just then, an old washerwoman who often saw me came running. She held my hand, made me sit on one side, and gave me water. She said, "What happened, daughter? Is everything okay?" I said, panting. "Where did those clothes go?" He smiled and said, "Yes, I was just thinking. You were washing clothes so quickly so that you wouldn't get sick. Look, you're dizzy, aren't you?" I asked in surprise. "I was washing," he laughed. "And who does anyone's work here?" I remained silent after hearing him, because if I had said that I was hiding there, he would have thought me crazy. I didn't even tell Abba this. I knew that if they found out, they would have said, "Stop going there now." But I didn't want that because my work was getting done without me working hard, my earnings were increasing, the customers were happy. Now, every day, I would go to the market behind the gate, put my clothes away, do some shopping, and look back to see the washed clothes drying on the rope. At night, I would put them on the ironing board and sleep. When I woke up in the morning, I would find them all ironed, as if someone had served me all night. Gradually, all this did not seem strange to me anymore. Rather, I began to feel it inside, as if an unseen hand was helping me. I knew that this was not the work of any human being. Perhaps a shadow from this old ghostly gat had also joined me, but that shadow had come to help me, not to scare me. I wondered if I had to do all this myself every day. Perhaps when would my body respond? But now everything was easy. The work was better. The customers were happy. People were praising me. One woman laughed and said, "Look, there is a blessing in women's work. Men just steal." I smiled, but my heart trembled inside because I knew that this was not the work of any woman, but the perfection of some unseen being. Now I was slowly becoming half of this mysterious help. One morning, an incident happened at the washing gate that robbed me of sleep. The sun was just rising. The sun was spreading slowly, and as usual, I was putting my clothes on the stone and starting to wash them. I was moving my hands very quickly at that time, thinking only that I should finish the whole job before the sun rose completely. Splashes of water were falling on my face. There was a slight humidity in the air, and the sound of water hitting the old stones echoed. Just then, suddenly a man who was washing clothes nearby came close to me and started speaking in a loud voice. His tone was angry and sharp. When he said this, he washed the clothes so quickly and packed the space. "We also have to put clothes on." I looked at him in shock. He must have been about 35 or 36 years old, but from the wrinkles on his face and his tired expression, he looked much older than his real age. His hair was disheveled and there was a strange hardness in his eyes. His behavior was exactly the same as if he had been. The men were arguing with each other. He had forgotten that I was a girl. He was constantly talking to me in a low voice, and I could hear it. My heart was beating fast. I had never heard a stranger talk like that. I was scared and said slowly, "I will take off my clothes. Don't worry." I quickly lifted my clothes from one side to the other, hoping that his anger would cool down. Just then, 2 or 3 other washerwomen who were washing clothes nearby also came near. One of them said, "Why are you shouting? This girl comes here under compulsion. She works hard. Is your mind broken?" The other said, "Shame on me. She is my daughter's age." But the man became even more angry. He said arrogantly, "I will take out my anger on whoever I feel like, and if she doesn't leave here, I will slap her." Hearing this, my heart stopped. Tears filled my eyes. The ground seemed to have slipped from under my feet. The voice got stuck in my throat. I didn't say anything, just wrapped my clothes tightly. She bowed her head and left from there. Her words were heard all the way. When she reached home, her tears could not stop. She kept thinking about this. Why did he insult my honor? I have not done anything wrong to anyone. Then why did all this happen to me? She got tired of crying and fell asleep in this state. In the morning, I opened my eyes to the noise. The women of the neighborhood were talking. I opened the door and listened. Then I found out that the same man who was arguing with me yesterday had slipped and fallen this morning. My heart felt a jolt. A voice came from somewhere inside. All this didn't just happen. My feet don't slip like this. There must be a reason. A deep, hidden voice in my heart was saying, "What he did to you yesterday is his punishment." Since that day, I have started feeling an unseen presence in my house too. It feels like someone is always with me, helping me in everything I do. He walks around me and keeps watching me. Sometimes I turn around and look back, but no one is there. At night, I start having scary dreams. Sometimes a shadow is watching me. Sometimes it feels like someone is sitting in my room. I wake up in fear. My heart says, "This is the same unseen being who does my work at the washing station and teaches my enemies a lesson." But despite all this, these secrets were also scaring me from my heart. One day, I was sitting in a corner of the washing station. The wash was spreading gently. The air was damp with the moisture of water splashes. A pile of clothes was lying on my bed. It was lying in front of me, but I didn't touch it. I was sure that it would wash itself because it had been like this for several days. Sometimes I would wash the clothes myself. Otherwise, I would often leave them and go to the market and return to see all the clothes washed and arranged on the rope. Now, all this did not seem strange to me. Rather, I felt a strange comfort in my heart as if a shadow was accompanying me. But with this comfort, there was also an invisible fear. That day, too, I was doing the same thing, quietly hiding behind a stone and thinking, "I will not wash myself today either. He will wash it." Suddenly, I felt the pressure of a beautiful hand on the stump as if someone had grabbed me from behind. I turned around in fear and saw that Abba was standing behind me. I was stunned. My heart started beating rapidly. I stammered and said, "Abba, Abba, how did you get here?" I said in a trembling voice, "Abba, you couldn't even get down from the bed. You are sick. You should have rested at home. Have you recovered? Has Abba—" There was no direct answer. There was a strange calmness on his face. There was depth in his eyes as if he knew everything. I said again, "Abba, I am talking to you. Why are you not saying anything?" He said in a slow but heavy voice, "People are starting to suspect me. Now I will not be able to help you every day. You should leave this job and do some other job. I will get you whatever you ask." I was surprised. My heart started beating. I said, "Abba, what kind of talk are you making? Where will you get me work? You don't have any money yourself. And how do you know that people look down on me? This is your first time here. How do you know the conditions here?" Suddenly, my heart started beating like all my blood had frozen. I felt that this was not my Abba. There was someone else standing in front of me in his form. My hands started shaking. My tongue was numb. I started to back away in fear, but he held my hand tightly. His hand was as cold as ice, but it was so strong that it was impossible to let go. She shouted, "Let go of my hand. I'm scared." Then he said in a loud, resonant voice, "I'm not your father. I'm the chief of the jinn. This whole place is mine. We don't help anyone. I like you. That's why I'm helping you. I'm giving you weapons. Leave this job. I'll make some other way for you. Ask for whatever you want. Your father will also get better." My lips started trembling. My heart stopped. A shiver ran through my body. I cried and said, "Let go of my hand. I'm scared." He said, "There's no need to be afraid. I've come in the form of your father so that you don't get scared. Your father will also get better. I can't see you in pain." I gathered all my strength and jerked his hand free, then ran at full speed. The sound of my footsteps echoed on the old stones of the washgat. My heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. When I reached home, I closed the door and sat down on the ground. My hands were soaked with sweat. I was out of breath. When I looked at Abba, he said, "There's no need to be afraid." He was sleeping on the bed, breathing softly, his face still weak but full of peace. I was surprised and started wondering who was he who had come before me in the form of Abba. The washhouse I had thought of as just a place to work was actually something else, an old kingdom buried deep somewhere. I held my head. My heart seemed to have stopped. My mind was heavy. Darkness was before my eyes. I tried to control myself, but both fear and surprise were echoing in my heart. The clothes were washing themselves, ironing themselves. It was not my Abba, but the chief of the jinn who had taken his form. My courage had been answered. I lay down on the bed, closed my eyes, and started praying. "Oh God, oh Bhagwan, please get me out of this trouble." When I opened my eyes, the sun was coming in through the window. My head was heavy. I got up to drink water. Suddenly, my eyes fell on the floor. There was a shiny brown bag there. It was new and beautiful, something I had never seen in our house before. I was shocked and looked around. Abba was sitting on the bed and reading the newspaper. I asked, "What is this bag?" "Where did it come from?" He asked, "What bag, daughter?" I pointed to it. He was shocked. He said, "Hey, I've never seen this before. Did you bring it?" I nodded. My heart started pounding. I slowly went to the bag. I opened it and saw bundles of thousands of rupee notes inside. I had never seen so much money at once. A mist covered my eyes. I closed the bag, then opened it, then closed it again. No, it was not a dream. Everything was true. The voice of that night echoed in my mind. "I will give you another job. I will give you whatever you want." My wicked body trembled. Had the chief of the jinn really kept his promise? I sat down on the ground, put the bag in my lap, and started crying. Tears were flowing from my eyes, but they were mixed with both joy and fear. I called my father and told him everything. At first, he did not believe me, but when he opened the bag and saw the bundles of notes inside, his face lit up with surprise. He said, "Daughter, where did this money come from?" I told him everything. My father remained silent for a while. Then he said, "It seems that God has made some special arrangement for us." I bowed my head in prostration. Tears kept flowing, and I thanked him from my heart that finally my hard work had paid off. My Lord had helped me. I promised him in my heart that now I will never go to this washing ghat. The first thing I did was to show my father to a good doctor for treatment. He took medicine for a whole month, and then he recovered completely. The same old glow that the disease had taken away came back to his face. When he smiled, my joy knew no bounds. I kissed his feet. Father said, "What will we do now, daughter?" I said, "Anpa, we will still work as washerwomen, but this time not in the old way, but in the new way." I saved all my money, saved some, invested some, bought a small but clean house, and there was a big room next to it, which I turned into a workshop. There I installed automatic machines that washed and cleaned the clothes themselves. I hired 3 or 4 people to work so that everyone ran smoothly. Father would handle the office paperwork and I would supervise the work. We kept the price of the clothes the same as before so that people would understand that we were honest. We never asked for more money. We just kept the work clean and returned on time. Gradually, all the people in the area started sending us clothes. Women would say, "Your hands are clean." Men would say, "Your machines are perfect." But I knew where the real help came from. Sometimes at night, when everything was quiet and the machines hummed softly, I would look out the window at the sky and say softly, "If you were truly the leader of the jinn, then perhaps you helped me because I was alone and helpless, and people looked at me wrongly." My heart told me that a man, whether human or jinn, has compassion and mercy within him. He cannot remain unaware when he sees a woman in need. Perhaps some soft feeling for me had awakened in his heart, so that at first he helped me, and then he gave me a new path so that I would not be able to bow down to anyone. Now, the place of fear in me was replaced by peace. I work with dignity in my home. The machines keep running. Sometimes we sit nearby and talk. The work is quadrupling day and night. Money is coming in a lot, but I have never been greedy. Every month I give a portion to charity so that I can repay this mysterious help with the help of someone else. Sometimes, in the silence of the night, when the machines make a soft noise, it feels as if someone is sitting nearby. You are happy to see that I am now living my life with humility. Perhaps it is the same chief of the jinn who now wishes that I am safe. Now I do not feel afraid or lonely, because I am sure that when the intention is pure, God also helps, whether through a human being or through the hands of some unseen being. My life has changed. Once I was that scared girl who used to go to work every day in the shadow of fear, and today I am a self-reliant woman who is running her own business with her own hands. There is a smile on my father's face. There is blessing in the house and peace in my soul. Every day I thank my Lord that He saved my honor. I can say that I am not a washerwoman, but a businesswoman, and every day reminds me of the promise of the chief of the jinn who took my life out of fear and filled it with happiness.